Judge Marcus Holland stood in handcuffs at a Tennessee gas station, surrounded by 3 officers. His expensive suit was dusty. One cop smirked. "Big mistake driving through our town, boy." This is one of those black stories that reminds us how quickly power can shift. Real-life stories don't always follow the script we expect. Beat stories like this one prove that touching stories can emerge from the darkest moments. 11:47 p.m. Rural Route 40. Fluorescent lights flickered overhead. Marcus, 52 years old, stood beside his black Mercedes S-Class. His charcoal Tom Ford suit caught the light. His hands were steady. His voice was calm. He said nothing as the cuffs clicked shut. Have you ever been so certain of your innocence that you stayed silent, knowing the truth would be louder than any defense you could offer? Officer Raymond Dawkins approached with his hand near his weapon. 15 years on the force. Crew cut, 38 years old. His boots crunched on gravel. License and registration. Now. Marcus reached slowly into his jacket. He pulled out his wallet. His movements were deliberate. Every gesture telegraphed compliance. Dawkins studied the license under his flashlight. Atlanta, long way from home. He looked up. Step out of the vehicle. Marcus opened the door. He stood. He kept his hands visible. Officer Marcus Reynolds circled the Mercedes with his flashlight. 29 years old. His body cam was off. The small red light that should have been blinking was dark. "Nice car," Reynolds said. "How's a guy like you afford a ride like this?" Marcus didn't answer. He watched. He calculated. Sergeant Peter Kowalski pulled up in a third cruiser. 45 years old. Supervisor on scene. He stepped out and surveyed the situation. He didn't ask questions. He didn't de-escalate. "What do we have?" Kowalski asked. "Matches the description," Dawkins said. "Description of what?" Marcus asked quietly. "Don't play dumb," Dawkins said. "Robbery suspect. We got a call." Marcus's jaw tightened. "What robbery? When? Where?" Dawkins ignored him. "Turn around. Hands behind your back." The handcuffs were cold. They bit into Marcus's wrists. Not painfully. Just enough to remind him of their presence. Inside the gas station, a clerk watched through the window. Hispanic. 24 years old. College student working nights. He'd had his own encounters with Kowalski. He pulled out his phone. He started recording. 2 other customers stood at their pumps. Both pulled out phones. The cameras captured everything. Marcus's calm face. Dawkins's aggressive stance. The way Reynolds kept circling like a predator. One customer whispered to the other, "Think he actually did something?" The other shrugged. Cops wouldn't arrest him for nothing. Marcus was loaded into the back of Dawkins's cruiser. The door slammed. The world became smaller. Blue and red lights painted the night. His briefcase sat on the passenger seat of his Mercedes. Inside was a gavel-shaped paperweight. The engraving read, "Hanapim, Marcus J. Howell, Holland, 6th Circuit Court." Nobody looked inside. They arrived at Crawford County Sheriff's Department at 12:30 a.m. Concrete walls. Fluorescent buzz. The smell of industrial disinfectant. Marcus was placed in a holding cell. He sat upright. His tie was still knotted. He folded his jacket beside him. Desk Sergeant Collins processed the paperwork. 50-something. He'd seen everything twice. His eyes were tired but sharp. Dawkins filled out the arrest report. Suspicious activity, failure to comply, possible vehicle theft. Collins raised an eyebrow. Vehicle theft? Registration came back clean? High-end car, Dawkins said. Out-of-state plates. 11 p.m. Run his record. Collins typed. The system loaded. No priors. Not even a parking ticket. Dawkins, Collins said slowly. Maybe we should... Kowalski interrupted. Book him. Disorderly conduct. We'll sort it in the morning. Collins hesitated. Then he printed the custody receipt. Personal effects. Wallet containing Bar Association card. Briefcase not opened per protocol. Phone. Marcus watched this exchange. His face showed nothing. I'd like to make my phone call, Marcus said. Kowalski looked at him. Phone system's down. You'll call in the morning. That's a violation of... Don't tell me my job, sir. Kowalski's voice dripped with sarcasm. Marcus stopped talking. A slight smile touched his lips. The first time he'd smiled all night. Dawkins noticed. What's funny? Nothing, officer, Marcus said. I'll wait. What they didn't know, Marcus's absence had already triggered alerts. His court clerk expected a check-in call by midnight. His wife, a prominent civil rights attorney, expected the same. The State Bar Association had protocols for traveling judges. When judges don't check in, people notice. Marcus lay on the cell bench at 2 a.m. His eyes were open. 3 rooms away, his phone sat in an evidence locker. It buzzed continuously. 47 missed calls. His watch caught the light. Patek Philippe Nautilus. $85,000. Dawkins had seen it earlier. He'd assumed it was fake. His wedding ring had an inscription visible when light hit it right. To Judge Holland. Love eternal. Nobody had looked closely enough. At 2:17 a.m., Marcus heard footsteps. A guard walked past. Marcus spoke softly. Officer, what's the date? August 1st. Why? Just keeping track, Marcus said. The guard left. Marcus closed his eyes. He knew the rotation schedule. Tennessee rotates visiting judges from other districts to handle overflow cases. He'd checked it before leaving Atlanta. August 14th, Crawford County Circuit Court. Visiting judge assignment. His assignment. He smiled again in the darkness. Collins, the desk sergeant, came back to check on him at 3 a.m. He stood outside the cell. You a lawyer? Collins asked quietly. Something like that, Marcus said. Collins nodded. He walked away. But he pulled Marcus's custody file. He read the Bar Association card entry. His eyes widened. He said nothing. At 6:45 a.m., Marcus's wife Sarah called the Crawford County Sheriff's Office. The receptionist answered. I'm looking for my husband, Marcus Holland. He was arrested last night. Hold, please. The line clicked. Silence. Then Kowalski's voice. Ma'am, your husband refused to cooperate. He'll see a magistrate this afternoon. This afternoon? Sarah's voice was sharp. That's a 14-hour hold without arraignment. Kowalski hung up. Sarah immediately called the Tennessee State Bar Association. The machinery was turning. Slowly, but it was turning. Marcus sat in his cell. His suit was wrinkled now, but his spine was still straight. His hands were still folded. He was the calmest person in the building. At 7:30 a.m., Sarah called the Tennessee State Bar Association. She spoke with Director Patricia Carmichael. They're holding a judge, Sarah said. Without cause. Without his phone call. They don't even know who he is. Carmichael went silent. Then, "Which judge?" "Marcus Holland, Sixth Circuit." "Oh, God." At 8 a.m., the Bar Association called the Tennessee Attorney General's office. At 8:15, Chief Judge Patricia Reeves learned her colleague was in custody. Judge Reeves had mentored Marcus for 2 decades. She'd watched him rise from public defender to circuit judge. She knew his temperament. She knew his precision. She made one phone call. "Don't release him yet. Let this play out." It sounded cruel. It wasn't. It was strategic. The gas station videos went viral. By 9 a.m., 340,000 views. The customer who filmed it posted on Twitter with hashtags: "Driving while black," "Crawford County." A civil rights journalist picked up the thread. She broke down the timeline. Well-dressed man. Full compliance. No probable cause stated. Body cams off. Matches description of what crime. None reported in the county that night. Local news called the sheriff's department. "We're hearing about an arrest last night. Can you comment?" The receptionist transferred them to Sheriff Tom Brackett. Brackett was 58. 3 terms. Elected official. He'd survived scandals before, but he felt something different this time. He pulled up the custody log. Then the gas station footage someone had emailed anonymously. He watched Marcus comply. He watched Dawkins escalate. He watched 3 officers surround one calm man. Brackett called Dawkins into his office. "What the hell happened?" "Routine stop, sir." He was aggressive. Brackett turned his computer screen. "Watch this. Tell me where he's aggressive." Dawkins watched. His face tightened. "Clips can be edited. This is raw footage from the gas station security system. Time-stamped. Continuous." Dawkins said nothing. Kowalski entered. "His wife's raising hell. She's some kind of lawyer." Brackett made a calculation. Political calculation. Cite and release. Get him out by noon. Disorderly conduct fine. $500. He'll pay and leave. Sheriff, do it. What Brackett didn't do, check who Marcus actually was. He just wanted the problem gone. At 11 a.m., Marcus was brought to the magistrate court. Basement level. Magistrate Webb presided. 42 years old. Part-time position. He handled minor offenses. Standard procedure. Name. Charge. Plea. Bail. Marcus Jonathan Holland. Webb read. Disorderly conduct. How do you plead? Not guilty. Webb set the hearing date. August 14th. 10 a.m. Marcus's eyes flickered. Just for a second. Bail set at $1,000. Marcus paid from his wallet. He collected his belongings. His briefcase, his phone, his watch. As he signed the release forms, he looked up at Webb. Judge Webb, are you familiar with Judicial Conduct Canon 3.2? Webb blinked. What? You'll want to review it. Good day. Marcus walked out at 11:47 a.m., exactly 12 hours after his arrest. 23 reporters waited on the courthouse steps. Cameras flashed. Questions flew. Were you mistreated? Will you sue? Do you think this was racially motivated? Marcus stood at the microphone cluster. Sarah stood beside him. He raised one hand. The crowd quieted. His statement was 100 words. Measured. Devastating. I am Judge Marcus Holland of the Sixth Circuit Court of Georgia. Last night, I was arrested without probable cause by Crawford County officers. I complied fully. Their body cams were disabled. I was denied my phone call for 12 hours. I've served 18 years on the bench. I've presided over 4,000 cases. I have never, not once, been on the defendant's side of a courtroom. Until yesterday. This experience has clarified something I thought I understood. I did not. No further questions. He walked to his Mercedes. He drove away. Within 30 minutes, CNN picked it up. MSNBC. Fox News. The headlines varied, but the shock was universal. Federal judge arrested at gas station. Judge held 12 hours without cause. Body cam footage missing in judge's arrest. Back at Crawford County Sheriff's Department, Brackett watched the news. His face went pale. "Get me everything," he told his assistant. "Every report, every recording, every piece of paper." The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation opened an inquiry that afternoon. 2 investigators arrived at the station. "We need the body cam footage from last night's arrest." Dawkins sat across from them. "Technical malfunction? All 3 cameras?" "Yes." "Simultaneously?" "Yes." The lead investigator leaned forward. "Officer Dawkins, the statistical probability of 3 independent devices failing at the exact same moment is 0.003%. Would you like to revise your statement?" Dawkins said nothing. They pulled the jail security recordings, audio from inside the station. One clip caught Kowalski talking to Dawkins in the break room. "You didn't tell me he had Georgia plates with a government exemption sticker." "So what? Plenty of state employees have those." "Judges get those? Dawkins?" "Judges? We didn't know." The investigators listened. They made notes. They said nothing. The evidence was mounting. Gas station footage showed no disorderly conduct. Customer videos corroborated Marcus's compliance. Jail logs showed the phone system was operational. 3 other inmates made calls during Marcus's detention. Dispatch recordings showed no robbery reported in Crawford County that night. Match's description was fabricated. Judge Haskell, Crawford County Circuit Judge, called an emergency meeting with Sheriff Brackett. Linda Haskell was 62. Tough. Fair. She'd served Crawford County for 20 years. "Do you understand what you've done?" Her voice was quiet. Dangerous quiet. "It was a mistake," Brackett said. "We'll apologize." "It's not your apology to give. You arrested a federal circuit judge. The 6th Circuit has jurisdiction over Tennessee. We didn't know. That's worse. You arrested a man without probable cause. The fact that he's a judge just makes it impossible to sweep under the rug." Brackett sat down heavily. "What do we do?" "You wait." He scheduled his hearing for August 14th. "Do you know who the visiting judge is that day?" Brackett shook his head. "Check the rotation." Brackett pulled up the public schedule. His face went white. "Visiting judge, August 14th, Crawford County Circuit Court, Hondarger, Marcus J. Holland." "Oh, God." "Yes," Haskell said. "Oh, God." What neither of them knew yet, the 6th Circuit had launched a formal review of Crawford County's arrest patterns. Marcus's case was the catalyst. But data analysts were already pulling 5 years of records. Early findings showed a pattern. Black drivers arrested at 8.7 times the rate of others for suspicious activity. The numbers didn't lie. Marcus spent the next 2 weeks preparing. Not his defense. His prosecution. August 14th arrived with clear skies. The Crawford County Circuit Courthouse was built in 1932. Stone steps. Tall columns. The kind of building that was supposed to represent justice. By 9 a.m., the gallery was packed. Media, civil rights observers, local citizens. Some came to support the officers. Most came to witness history. Dawkins, Reynolds, and Kowalski sat at the defendant's table. County Attorney Foster sat with them. He was 39, overwhelmed. He'd been assigned this case 3 days ago. He'd spent those 3 days trying to get the charges dismissed. His motions were denied. By Judge Haskell. By the Attorney General's office. By everyone. Let it proceed, they all said. Foster didn't understand why until this moment. At 9:58, the bailiff entered. All rise. The room stood. The Honorable Judge Marcus J. Holland presiding. The door opened. Marcus entered in full judicial robes. Black fabric. Dignified. He walked with the same calm he'd shown in handcuffs. His gavel, the one from his briefcase, rested on the bench. He sat. He arranged his papers. He looked up. Please be seated. The room sat. You could hear breathing. Marcus's voice was clear. Steady. This is case number 2024-CR-1847. The State of Tennessee versus Officers Raymond Dawkins, Marcus Reynolds, and Sergeant Peter Kowalski. Charges: deprivation of civil rights under color of law, false arrest, and falsification of police records. How do the defendants plead? Foster stood. His hands shook. Your Honor, I move for your recusal based on motion denied. Your Honor. Counsel, Judicial Canon 3.2 allows a judge to preside when the judge is a witness to the facts, not merely a victim. I witnessed every moment of the events in question. I am uniquely qualified to hear this case. Your motion is denied. How do your clients plead? Foster looked at the 3 officers. Dawkins stared at the table. Reynolds looked sick. Kowalski's jaw was clenched. Not guilty, Your Honor. Noted. Prosecution may present its opening statement. A prosecutor from the Attorney General's office stood. Sarah Holland sat in the front row. She was not prosecuting. That would have been too much. But she was there. The prosecutor laid out the case. Wrongful arrest. Civil rights violation. Falsification of records. Then came the evidence. Exhibit A. Gas station footage. Played on courtroom screens. High definition. Time-stamped. Every second documented. Marcus narrated his own arrest. His voice was clinical. Detached. Note at timestamp 23:47:19. Officer Dawkins approaches with hand on weapon. At 23:47:55, I provide license and registration without hesitation. At 23:49:12, I am handcuffed without stated probable cause. The footage showed everything. Marcus's compliance. Dawkins's aggression. The way Reynolds circled the car like he was hunting. The courtroom watched in silence. Exhibit B. Body cam audit. A TBI investigator took the stand. All 3 officers' body cams were manually disabled at 23:42. 6 minutes before initial contact with Judge Holland. Marcus looked at Dawkins. Officer Dawkins, is it standard protocol to disable recording equipment before a traffic stop? Foster stood. Objection. Leading. Overruled. The officer will answer. Dawkins cleared his throat. I don't recall. Let me help your memory. The device logs show you press the disable button 3 times in succession. That requires deliberate action. Did you or did you not manually disable your body cam? Silence. Officer? Yes. Yes. What? Yes, I disabled it. Why? I don't remember. The device doesn't forget. Even if you do. Noted. Exhibit C. Dispatch records. Marcus entered them into evidence personally. He read from the log. August 1st, 2024, Crawford County Dispatch, 0 robbery reports, 0 theft reports, 0 violent crime reports between the hours of 6 p.m. and midnight. He looked at Kowalski. Sergeant Kowalski, you told me I matched a description. Description of what crime? Kowalski stared straight ahead. Sergeant, you're under oath. I believe there was a report. You believed wrong. Or you lied. Which is it? Foster objected. Marcus sustained it. But the point was made. Exhibit D. Phone call logs. Security footage from the jail showed 3 inmates making phone calls during Marcus's detention. Time-stamped. Audio recorded. Marcus played the audio. 3 different voices. 3 successful calls. Sergeant Kowalski, you told me the phone system was down. Was that statement true? I thought it was. You thought wrong. Again. The jury, 12 citizens of Crawford County, watched all of this. Their faces showed shock, confusion, anger. Then came Exhibit E. This was the bomb. Marcus introduced a statistical analysis. 5 years of arrest data from Crawford County, conducted by the 6th Circuit's data team. Dr. Elena Rodriguez took the stand. Statistician. Ph.D. from Stanford. Expert witness. She presented her findings. Crawford County arrest data, 2019 to 2024. Black drivers 8.7 times more likely to be arrested for suspicious activity. 12.3 times more likely to have vehicles searched. 6.4 times more likely to be held overnight without bail. Suspicious activity arrests of black individuals, 89% result in dropped charges or acquittal. Same statistic for others, 34%. Marcus let the numbers sit. The courtroom absorbed them. The jury absorbed them. Dr. Rodriguez, in statistical analysis, what do we call a pattern this pronounced? Systemic discrimination, Your Honor. Marcus turned to Foster. Mr. Foster, does the county dispute these findings? Foster looked at his notes. He had nothing. We need time to review the methodology. You've had 6 weeks. The methodology was provided on July 1st. The county has had ample time. Do you dispute the findings or not? We cannot confirm. That's not what I asked. Do you dispute them? Foster sat down. No, Your Honor. Marcus nodded. He turned to the 3 officers. He looked at each one. Dawkins, Reynolds, Kowalski. Gentlemen, you have 2 choices. 1, this proceeds to full trial, where every arrest you've made in 5 years will be scrutinized. Every traffic stop, every search, every report. 2, you accept a consent decree that includes your immediate suspension, mandatory bias training, and 2 years probation. Your employment futures will depend on your compliance and the county's reform measures. You have until after lunch to decide. Court is recessed. He struck the gavel once. The sound echoed. Marcus stood. He exited through the judge's chamber. The courtroom erupted in whispers. Dawkins sat frozen. Reynolds put his head in his hands. Kowalski stared at the bench where Marcus had sat. Foster turned to them. Take the deal. We didn't do anything wrong, Dawkins said. You arrested a judge without cause. Your body cams were off. You lied about a robbery. You denied him his phone call. A jury will convict you in 20 minutes. Foster's voice was harsh. Take The deal. At 2 p.m., court reconvened. Foster stood. Your Honor, the defendants accept the consent decree terms. Marcus nodded. Let the record reflect that acceptance. Now we address the systemic issues that allowed this to happen. He read the terms aloud. Every word. Every condition. Officers Dawkins, Reynolds, and Kowalski, suspended without pay for 90 days. Then 2 years probation. Any citizen complaint triggers immediate review. Second violation equals termination. Sheriff Brackett, not criminally charged, but must implement reforms within 180 days or face removal proceedings. Department-wide bias training. All 47 Crawford County officers complete 40-hour certification. Repeated annually. Body cam mandate cannot be disabled manually. Automatic activation when patrol car leaves station. Footage cloud stored immediately. Traffic stop data collection, race, reason for stop, duration, search conducted, arrest made, quarterly public reporting. The courtroom listened to every word. When Marcus finished, he looked at the 3 officers one final time. This consent decree is not punishment. It's education. You will learn what I learned in that cell, what it feels like to be powerless, to be disbelieved, to be judged before trial, and then you will learn to never make another person feel that way. Do you understand? All 3 nodded. Verbally, please. Yes, Your Honor, they said in unison. This court is adjourned. The gavel struck. Marcus stood. He exited. The room remained silent for 10 full seconds after he left. Then chaos. Reporters rushed out. Observers talked over each other. The jury filed out looking shaken. Foster packed his briefcase. He looked at the 3 officers. You just witnessed the most merciful verdict you'll ever receive. Don't waste it. He left them sitting there. 3 days after the hearing, the Crawford County Commission held an emergency meeting. Marcus attended, not as a judge, as an expert witness. The commission chamber was full. County commissioners, Sheriff Brackett, community members, media. Commission Chairman Dale Porter called the meeting to order. 65 years old. Farmer. 3 decades in local government. We're here to discuss the consent decree and its implementation. Judge Holland has agreed to present a framework. Marcus stood. He carried a bound document. 47 pages. Charts. Data. Policy recommendations. Crawford County Policing Reform Framework, he said simply. He distributed copies. Then he began. I'm going to present 5 structural reforms. These aren't suggestions. Under the consent decree, failure to implement within 180 days triggers state intervention. Let's begin. Reform 1, Civilian Review Board. 9 members. County residents. 3-year terms. Reviews all use of force incidents and citizen complaints. 3 seats reserved for Black community members to ensure diverse perspective. Commissioner Ellen Rodriguez raised her hand. Who appoints them? The commission appoints 6. Community organizations nominate and elect 3. This prevents political capture. What's their authority? They can recommend discipline, training, or policy changes. Sheriff must respond in writing within 30 days. If sheriff rejects recommendations, they can appeal to the state. Brackett shifted in his seat. He didn't like this. But he said nothing. Reform. 2, early warning system. Marcus pulled up a slide. Software interface. Data fields. This system tracks officer behavior patterns, excessive force complaints, dismiss charges, citizen complaints, body cam malfunctions, officers flagged after 3 incidents in 12 months trigger mandatory review. What kind of review? Porter asked. Psychological evaluation, retraining, possible reassignment. The goal isn't punishment. It's intervention before patterns become tragedies. Sheriff Brackett spoke for the first time. Judge Holland, with respect, this will create a culture of fear. Officers won't want to do their jobs. Marcus turned to him. Sheriff, officers who do their jobs correctly have nothing to fear from documentation. Officers who abuse their authority should fear documentation. That's the point. The room went quiet. Marcus continued. The data shows which officers generate complaints and which don't. Some officers work 30 years without a single excessive force complaint. Others generate 5 in 3 years. This system identifies the difference. Reform 3. Community Liaison Program. Every officer spends 8 hours monthly at community centers, schools, local events, not in uniform, not on duty, building relationships, not just enforcing. Deputy Chief Morrison spoke up. That's 64 hours per officer annually. We don't have the staffing. Then hire more officers. Or accept that policing isn't just response. It's prevention. It's trust. Budget accordingly. Marcus showed data from other departments that implemented similar programs. Crime rates decreased. Community satisfaction increased. Officer retention improved. When people know their officers as humans, not just badges, cooperation increases. Tips increase. De-escalation becomes easier. Reform 4. Financial accountability. This was the piece that made commissioners nervous. Crawford County will pay a $250,000 settlement. I'm donating it to Tennessee Legal Aid Society. But more important, your insurance premiums will increase due to this violation. That hits the budget. That forces accountability. Porter frowned. Judge, we're a small county. Budget increases hurt services. Then don't violate civil rights. Insurance companies are excellent at risk assessment. They're telling you this behavior is expensive. Listen. Marcus showed the math. Average settlement for civil rights violations, $1.2 million. Training and prevention costs, $80,000 annually. Prevention is cheaper than lawsuits. Every time. Reform. 5. Mandatory reporting. Traffic stop data goes public quarterly. Race. Reason. Duration. Search. Arrest. No exceptions. Transparency creates accountability. He showed Crawford County's current numbers. 8.7 times. 12.3 times. 6.4 times. These numbers are shameful. Publishing them quarterly will force improvement, because nobody wants to explain why the disparity persists. Commissioner Rodriguez asked the hard question. Judge Holland, do you believe our officers are racist? Marcus paused. The room held its breath. I believe they operate in a system with racial disparities. Whether that's explicit bias, implicit bias, or structural incentives doesn't change the outcome. Black drivers are arrested more often for the same behaviors. That's what the data shows. These reforms address the system, not individual souls. It was a careful answer. True. Measured. The commission voted. 7-2. The framework passed. Brackett looked at Marcus. When do we start? Tomorrow. 1 week later, Marcus received a call from Magistrate Webb, the man who'd arraigned him. Judge Holland, I need to speak with you. They met at a coffee shop outside Crawford County. Neutral ground. Webb looked tired. Ashamed. I should have known, Webb said. When you asked about Canon 3.2, I should have looked closer, asked more questions. I just processed you like everyone else. Marcus sipped his coffee. That's exactly the problem, Judge Webb. You processed me like everyone else. But I wasn't everyone else. I was someone whose rights were violated. And you missed it. Webb nodded. The Judicial Commission reprimanded me. Formal reprimand. 20 hours continuing education on constitutional rights. Good. That's it? Just good? Marcus leaned forward. Judge Webb, you had one job that day. Protect my rights. You failed. Not because you're malicious. Because you're complacent. The system runs on complacency. The reprimand is fair. Learn from it. Webb left looking smaller than when he arrived. Marcus stayed. He ordered another coffee. Sarah called. How'd it go? He apologized. Did you accept? I acknowledged it. Acceptance implies forgiveness. I'm not there yet. Sarah understood. The data report comes out next month. Are you ready? Yes. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation completed its review. The findings were released to the public in September. Crawford County Sheriff's Department. Pattern of discriminatory enforcement. Insufficient oversight. Inadequate training. Systemic failures at multiple levels. Recommendations aligned perfectly with Marcus's framework. Because Marcus had consulted on the investigation, his expertise, his experience, his data, the report went further. It recommended state monitoring for 2 years. If disparities didn't improve, the state could assume control of the department. Brackett read the report in his office. Alone. He was 58 years old. 3 terms as sheriff. He'd never faced anything like this. He called Marcus. Judge Holland, I need your help. I'm listening. I don't know how to fix this. The report. The numbers. I've been sheriff for 12 years. This happened on my watch. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Sheriff, awareness is the first step. You're aware now. Implement the reforms. Actually implement them. Not for compliance. For change. Will you help? I'll monitor. I'll advise. But this is your department. You fix it. Brackett took a breath. Okay. 6 weeks after implementation, the first quarterly report was released. Traffic stops of black drivers decreased 42%. Suspicious activity arrests decreased 59%. The numbers were moving. Slowly, but moving. The Civilian Review Board held its first meeting. Heard 4 cases. Found in favor of officers in 3 cases. Against in 1. The one case where they found against the officer excessive force during a wellness check. Officer was suspended for 30 days. Retrained. Reassigned to desk duty for 6 months. The officer complained. He appealed. The state upheld the decision. The system was working. Marcus received letters. Hundreds of them. From people who'd been arrested in Crawford County. From people across Tennessee. From across the country. One letter stood from a mother in Memphis. Her son had been arrested 5 times for suspicious activity. Never charged. Never convicted. Just arrested. Thank you for showing that the system can change. My son is afraid of police. Maybe now he won't have to be. Marcus kept that letter in his desk drawer. Dawkins resigned 4 months after the hearing. He couldn't handle the scrutiny, the oversight, the knowledge that every action was documented and reviewed. He moved to private security. He couldn't work in law enforcement again. The consent decree followed him. Reynolds stayed. He completed the bias training. He met with community members. He slowly, painfully, began to understand what he'd done. 1 year later, Reynolds would become the department's community liaison coordinator. The transformation surprised everyone, including himself. Kowalski took early retirement. He was 46, 22 years on the force. He left quietly. Sheriff Brackett ran for re-election. His opponent used the incident against him, called him weak, said he'd caved to outside pressure. Brackett won by 3 points. Narrow victory. But he won on a platform of reform. On election night, he called Marcus. "I didn't think I'd make it." "You earned it," Marcus said. "Don't waste it." "I won't." The reforms took root. The Civilian Review Board became a model. Other Tennessee counties requested the framework. Brackett presented at a state law enforcement conference. The body cam system worked flawlessly. Cloud storage meant no more convenient malfunctions. Officers complained at first. Then they realized the cameras protected them too. When complaints were false, the footage proved it. The early warning system flagged 6 officers in the first year. 3 were retrained successfully. 2 were reassigned. 1 was terminated for repeated violations. The traffic stop data told the story. Year 1, 8.7 times disparity. Year 2, 4.1 times. Still too high, but improving. Marcus presented the data at the National Judicial Conference. 1,200 judges attended. They listened. "Data doesn't lie," Marcus said. 8.7 times. That number should haunt every person who says discrimination is rare or exaggerated. A judge from Alabama asked, "What if the data is explained by crime rates in different communities?" Marcus was ready. "We controlled for that. We controlled for time of day, location, officer assignment, and reported crime rates. The disparity persists." Next question. The room went silent. Marcus continued. "I didn't want money. I wanted a mirror. I wanted these officers and this county to see themselves as I saw them that night. Data is that mirror. It reflects what we'd rather not see." The conference gave him a standing ovation. Not because they agreed with everything, because he'd forced them to look at something they'd been avoiding. Marcus appeared on 60 Minutes. The segment aired in September 2024. 18.7 million viewers. The interviewer asked the key question. "Judge Holland, did you ever consider physical resistance or legal aggression? Suing for millions?" Marcus's answer became the most quoted part of the interview. "Violence would have confirmed their bias. A cash settlement would have enriched me but changed nothing. I wanted structural change. I wanted policy. I wanted data collection that outlasts me. Protections that help people I'll never meet. Accountability systems that function when cameras aren't watching. That's not revenge. That's citizenship. That's what the bench taught me." The clip went viral. 42 million views across platforms. Marcus received an invitation from the Tennessee State Legislature. They were considering Senate Bill 847, statewide body cam mandate. He testified. He brought his data. He brought his story. He brought his calm, devastating logic. The bill passed 28-5. Governor signed it in October. Marcus stood behind her at the signing ceremony. "This is Marcus's law," the governor said. Marcus shook his head in the photo. He didn't want his name on it. but the name stuck. Law schools added his case to their curricula. Over 200 schools by 2026. Students studied the consent decree, the statistical analysis, the systemic approach. Marcus gave guest lectures. 6 schools in the first year. He talked about implicit bias, about data-driven reform, about the importance of lived experience. At Yale Law School, a student asked, "Judge Holland, how did you stay so calm during your arrest?" Marcus thought about it. "I stayed calm because I knew anger wouldn't help me. And I stayed calm because I was gathering evidence. Every word they said, every action they took, I was already building my case." Another student. "Would this have worked if you weren't a judge?" Marcus's face grew serious. "No, that's the problem. My title gave me tools most people don't have. That's why the reform can't be about protecting judges. It has to be about protecting everyone." The Rosa Martinez, the gas station clerk, applied to law school. She'd saved the security footage. She'd testified at the hearing. Marcus wrote her recommendation letter. She was accepted to University of Tennessee Law School. Full scholarship. She called him crying. "I can't believe this." "I can," Marcus said. "You did the right thing when it mattered. That's what lawyers do." The 2 customers who filmed the arrest joined their local NAACP chapter. Both became police reform advocates. One ran for city council. He won. Judge Patricia Reeves, Marcus's mentor, launched the Judicial Equity Initiative, training program for judges, how to recognize systemic bias in their own courtrooms. 200 judges completed the training in year 1. Sheriff Brackett, despite everything, earned reluctant respect. He implemented every reform. He met with community leaders monthly. He published the data even when it looked bad. Year 3 data. Traffic stop disparity down to 2.3 times. Still not equal, but moving. Brackett hired Crawford County's first black deputy sheriff. Promoted her to community liaison supervisor. The Citizens Review Board heard 47 cases in year 1. Found for officers 31 times, against 16 times. The board's independence proved its legitimacy. It wasn't rubber stamping either side. Marcus returned to Crawford County 1 year after his arrest. He visited the gas station. The owner had renamed it Holland's Stop. Marcus hadn't given permission. But the owner, a Vietnamese immigrant, refused to change it back. "You changed this place," the owner said. "People are safer now. I honor that." He donated coffee sales to civil rights organizations. $15,000 in year 1. Marcus stood at the pump where he'd been arrested. Exactly where he'd stood. He looked at the spot where Dawkins had approached. He felt nothing. No anger, no bitterness, just resolve. Marcus wrote an essay for The Atlantic, published in September 2024. It began with this paragraph. "I've sentenced men to prison. I've upheld constitutional rights against government intrusion. I've written judicial opinions that create precedent for decades. But I've never felt the weight of injustice until I carried it in handcuffs. The judge's robe creates distance, necessary professional distance, from the defendant's reality. That night stripped away the distance. I stood where thousands stand daily, powerless, disbelieved, and judged before trial. The difference? I had tools to fight back. Most don't. Reform must be the bridge." The essay went viral. 3 million reads in the first week. Marcus continued his work. He testified before Congress on police reform legislation. He consulted with 12 cities on implementing civilian review boards. The Holland Fellowship was established at University of Tennessee. 12 young black law students received full scholarships annually. Marcus mentored each one personally. One fellow asked him, "Do you regret driving through Crawford County that night?" Marcus smiled. "I regret that it happened. I don't regret what came from it." The phrase Holland Standard entered the reform lexicon. Data-driven police accountability. Other Tennessee counties adopted similar frameworks voluntarily. 14 counties by year 2. Georgia, Alabama, and Kentucky requested Marcus's framework. The U.S. Department of Justice cited Crawford County reforms in 2025 guidance documents. A documentary was made. The Judge and the System. PBS. 2025. It won an Emmy. The film ended with Marcus returning to his courtroom in Atlanta. Business as usual. Except nothing was usual anymore. Every defendant who stood before him now stood before someone who'd been in their position. Not metaphorically. Literally. Marcus's sentencing changed. More nuanced. More aware. More just. His colleagues noticed. Judge Reeves asked him about it. "You're different now." "I am," Marcus agreed. "I understand what I couldn't before. The fear, the helplessness, the knowledge that the system can fail you even when you've done nothing wrong. Are you glad it happened?" Marcus considered this. "I'm glad something good came from it. I'm not glad it was necessary." The gas station became an unofficial memorial. People left flowers, signs, messages of solidarity. One sign read, "Justice here." The station owner kept it up. Marcus's story was taught in 200 law schools by 2026. His calm mugshot became a meme. The caption, "When you're not mad, just disappointed on a constitutional level." Marcus found this funny. Sarah did not. "They're trivializing what happened to you." "No," Marcus said. "They're making it accessible. If a meme gets a 20-year-old to think about civil rights, I'll take it." 3 years after his arrest, Crawford County released its data report. Traffic stop disparity, 1.8 times. Nearly equal. Not perfect, but approaching it. Citizen complaints, down 61% from pre-reform levels. Community Trust Survey, 73% of residents reported increased confidence in police. Marcus read the report in his chambers. He called Brackett. "You did it!" Brackett's voice was tired, but proud. "We did it. You gave us the map. We followed it. Keep following it." "I will. These are the kind of real-life stories that remind us change is possible. Black stories like Marcus's prove that touching stories don't require violence to be powerful. Beat stories, the kind that show systems being challenged and reformed, offer hope." Marcus closed his essay with these words. "I was arrested for nothing, and that nothing became the foundation for something. This is not a story about one man's vindication. It's about the thousands of nothings, the stops, the searches, the suspicions, the handcuffs without cause, that happen when cameras aren't rolling, when judges aren't wearing suits, when no one with power is watching. We watched this time. Now we build systems that watch always." His final message to everyone who heard his story: if this story moved you, don't let that feeling dissipate when you scroll past. Here's what you can do. Comment below about a time you witnessed or experienced injustice. Silence protects systems. Stories expose them. Your voice matters. Share this video. Someone in your network needs to see that quiet resistance can reform systems violence never could. Transformation spreads through sharing. Research your local police department's traffic stop data. Most cities publish it. If the numbers look like Crawford County's did, attend a city council meeting. Ask questions. Demand answers. Subscribe to this channel. We tell real-life stories of power confronted, systems changed, and dignity defended. Black stories. Touching stories. Beat stories that matter. The gavel Marcus carried that night wasn't just his. It belongs to every person who refuses to accept that's just how things are. Now it's your turn to pick it up.